Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever had a family member who was so entitled, so completely convinced that the world owed them everything, that they'd literally try to destroy your career just because you wouldn't give them a $50,000 product for free? Well, get ready, because today we're diving into a story about my sister, Sarah, and the day I finally realized that some family bonds aren't worth the price tag. I run a highly successful custom cabinetry and furniture business, high-end stuff. Sarah always saw my success as her personal ATM. But when she pushed it too far, costing me the biggest contract of my life with a fake review, I knew a simple argument wouldn't cut it. I needed revenge. And as a craftsman, my revenge had to be custom-made, permanent, and delivered right to her front door. This one is going to be wild, so settle in. Let's get to it. My entitled sister demanded a $50,000 custom kitchen for free, then posted a one-star review that cost me a major contract. So I delivered her a housewarming gift that cost her everything. My name is Ethan, and for the last decade, I've built a successful business crafting high-end, custom cabinetry and furniture. My work isn't cheap. It's artisanal, high quality, and clients often wait months for me to fit them into the schedule. A standard kitchen install usually runs between $35,000 and $60,000, depending on the materials. I love what I do, and I've earned my reputation through sweat, sawdust, and long hours. My sister, Sarah, on the other hand, has a reputation for something else entirely: entitlement. She always expected everything to be handed to her, ever since she was the golden child growing up. While I was stacking shelves at a hardware store to save money for my first tools, Sarah was demanding a new car from our parents every time her old one got a scratch. We're polar opposites. I'm practical, she's aspirational, always chasing the next status symbol she can barely afford. About 6 months ago, Sarah and her husband, Mark, who is just as pretentious but significantly quieter, managed to buy a house in a newly developed, upscale part of the city. It was way beyond their means, but they had to have the right address for their image. The house was beautiful, but the kitchen was builder-grade garbage, cheap laminate, ugly cabinets, the works. The moment Sarah closed on the house, I knew the call was coming. Sure enough, my phone rang the next day. "Ethan, you won't believe how awful this kitchen is. It's an insult to the square footage," she chirped, without any sort of hello. "Look, I need you to do the kitchen. The whole thing. Custom cabinets, the island, maybe a built-in coffee bar. The full works." I smiled, happy to help a family member, even Sarah. "That sounds great, Sarah. Send me the floor plans, and I can start drawing up some concepts. We're looking at probably a 4 to 6 month lead time right now, but I can shuffle things around for you." That's when her tone shifted. "Lead time? Ethan, I need it done before the housewarming party in 6 weeks. And obviously, I need you to do it for free." I honestly thought she was joking. I laughed. "Free? Sarah, this is easily a $50,000 job, not counting materials. I can't just give that away." She paused, and the air on the phone got icy. "You can't? You're a multimillionaire, Ethan. You drive a company truck. I'm your sister. This is family. You owe me this. I owe you a discount, sure. I'd give you materials at cost, and I'd waive my personal labor fee, which is huge. But I still have to pay my crew, pay the workshop rent, pay for insurance, and the custom lumber alone is $20 grand. I can give you a 50% discount, bringing the total down to about $25,000, and I'll squeeze you in as a rush job, but that's my absolute limit." She screamed. And when I say screamed, I mean a full volume, banshee wail that forced me to pull the phone away from my ear. $25,000? Are you kidding me? You're forcing your own sister to pay you. You're selfish, Ethan. You're greedy. I knew success would change you, but this is disgusting. You'd rather see your sister with ugly cupboards than give up a few weeks of your time. I felt my patience snap. "Sarah, you're buying a $600,000 house you can't afford. Don't call me greedy because I won't give you a free kitchen. You can hire a cheap contractor if you want, but you won't get my quality." I hung up, heart pounding. I knew I had done the right thing, but dealing with Sarah always left me feeling drained and angry. I figured she'd call back later, apologize, and accept the discount. She didn't. Instead, the next day, I started getting weird phone calls. Clients calling to ask about a recent bad experience. My shop foreman walked into my office holding his phone, showing me an online review for my company, Ethan's Custom Woodworks. It was a detailed, one-star review titled, "Beware, arrogant, overpriced, and unprofessional." The review claimed I had taken a massive deposit, failed to deliver the cabinets, and then, when confronted, was rude and dismissive, telling the client their house wasn't good enough for my work. It was full of specific details only someone close to me would know, like mentioning my workshop address and the color of my company truck. I knew immediately it was Sarah. She had taken everything I said during our argument and twisted it into a public hit piece. I frantically contacted the review sites, explaining the situation, but the damage was done. It was one bad review, sure, but the detail made it look legitimate. The real disaster hit 3 days later. I had been working for 6 months on landing a contract with Meridian Development, a huge company building a new luxury condo complex. This single contract would be worth over $500,000 for the kitchen and bathroom millwork alone. I had a final meeting scheduled with the head developer, Mr. Henderson, that morning. I arrived at his office feeling confident. We sat down, and the first thing he did was pull up the one-star review on his massive computer screen. "Mr. West," Henderson said, his voice flat. "This review concerns me. You're charging us a premium for guaranteed quality and professionalism. This person claims you took their money and failed to deliver, calling you arrogant. Can you explain?" I tried to explain about the sibling rivalry, the entitlement, the blatant lie, but it sounded weak, desperate. "Sir, this is a fraudulent review posted by my disgruntled sister because I refused to give her a $50,000 kitchen for free." Henderson just sighed and leaned back. "I respect the honesty, Ethan. But in this market, reputation is everything. We can't afford any liability or drama. The risk is too high. I'm afraid we'll have to go with your competitor." I walked out of that office feeling physically sick. A $500,000 contract, gone. Months of work, negotiation, and preparation, flushed down the toilet because my entitled sister decided my professional success should be hers for the taking. I drove back to my workshop, feeling my blood run cold. My crew knew something was wrong just by the way I walked in. I told my foreman to cancel all jobs for the rest of the week. I needed time to breathe, but more importantly, I needed time to plan. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was furious, betrayed, and financially wounded. Sarah didn't just hurt my feelings, she hurt my livelihood and the future of my employees. There was no coming back from this with a simple phone call or a plea for reconciliation. I had to hit her where it hurt, and I knew exactly what that was: her pride and her meticulously crafted image of wealth. I spent the next 3 days doing research. I knew her housewarming party was scheduled for Saturday. She was inviting all her new wealthy neighbors, her in-laws, and her entire social circle, the very people whose opinion she valued most. This party was the foundation of her new, fake lifestyle. I needed 2 things: confirmation of her debt, and a perfect, permanent piece of evidence. It wasn't hard to find the public records showing the mortgage on her new house. It was a terrifying amount, far exceeding their combined income, meaning they were almost certainly living paycheck to paycheck just to afford the property taxes and the monthly payments. She had no savings, no equity, and a crippling loan. The $50,000 kitchen wasn't just a want, it was a desperate attempt to boost the value of a house they couldn't afford to furnish. Next, I went to my shop. I pulled the finest, most expensive piece of mahogany I had reserved for my highest-paying clients. I spent the next 2 days crafting. This wouldn't be a piece of furniture, it would be a monument to her greed. I built a beautiful, museum-quality display case, roughly the size of a large kitchen cabinet door. It had a glass front, immaculate dovetail joints, and was polished to a mirror shine. It was the quality of work she'd rejected, and it was perfect. Inside the case, I mounted 3 items. 1. A printout of her one-star review, enlarged and centered. 2. A printed, itemized invoice for the $500,000 contract I lost, with a note, lost due to fraudulent review posted by S. Mark. 3. A framed printout of the public mortgage record for her new house, showing the astronomical debt they were under. I also ordered a custom brass plaque, the kind you see on historical markers, engraved with one simple line, asterisk, the cost of entitlement. Asterisk. I mounted this plaque proudly on the base of the cabinet. Friday evening, I put the masterpiece in the back of my truck and covered it with a tarp. I called my parents and told them I wouldn't be attending Sarah's housewarming party, explaining simply that Sarah had done something unforgivable to my business. They didn't push. They had seen her entitlement their whole lives. Saturday afternoon, I put on my best business casual attire, grabbed the gift, and drove to Sarah's fancy new neighborhood. I arrived at 3 p.m., right when the party was in full swing. Valet parking, expensive cars lining the streets, music spilling out onto the manicured lawn. I didn't bother with the valet. I parked my truck right in front of her driveway, blocking half the entrance, and left the hazard lights flashing. I carried the mahogany display case right up to the front door. Sarah's husband, Mark, was out on the porch greeting guests and looking ridiculously uncomfortable in an expensive polo shirt. When he saw me approaching, his eyes went wide with dread. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Sarah said you weren't coming." He tried to block the door, but I just pushed past him, holding the heavy display case out in front of me. "I wouldn't miss it," I said, a slow, predatory smile spreading across my face. "I brought the housewarming gift." I walked directly into the living room, where Sarah was holding court, showing off her new, builder-grade kitchen. She froze when she saw me, her champagne flute held mid-air. The room went silent. All 20 guests, including her brand-new, wealthy neighbors and Mark's entire side of the family, whom I knew she was desperate to impress, turned to stare. "Ethan! What is this?" Sarah hissed, moving toward me. "Your gift, Sarah," I said, setting the mahogany display case down on her entryway console table with a resounding thud. "I made it custom, just for you. It's the highest quality woodworking I could offer." I stepped back and gestured grandly to the plaque, the cost of entitlement. The silence in the room was deafening. Sarah rushed forward, her face twisting in confusion as she tried to peer into the glass case. Mark muttered a desperate, "Sarah, don't," but it was too late. She saw the printout of her fraudulent One-Sta review. Then her eyes landed on the $500,000 lost contract. Finally, she saw the framed mortgage document, her name and Mark's, and the colossal, terrifying principal they owed. The blood drained from her face. She looked like she was about to vomit. One of Mark's older relatives, a sharply dressed woman named Aunt Carol who was notorious for being a busybody, stepped forward, adjusting her glasses. "What is that, dear? A family artifact?" Sarah stammered, "It's a joke, Aunt Carol." "Just..." Ethan being dramatic. I stepped forward, smiling warmly at the guests. "No joke at all. I crafted this as a reminder of the value of hard work, and the true cost of lying and manipulation. Sarah, when I refused to give you a $50,000 custom kitchen for free, you retaliated by costing me $500,000 of business. You posted fraudulent reviews that threatened my livelihood. This display case holds the proof of your actions, and the debt you're currently carrying to maintain this false image of luxury." The whispering started immediately. Aunt Carol gasped audibly. Mark buried his face in his hands. Sarah was trembling, completely exposed in front of everyone she desperately needed to impress. "You are horrible!" Sarah shrieked, tears springing to her eyes. "You're trying to ruin me." "You ruined yourself, Sarah," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. "I just delivered the documentation. This beautiful mahogany piece is now a permanent fixture of your home, showcasing exactly who you are." I turned to the assembled guests, my voice loud and clear. "If any of you were considering hiring Ethan's Custom Woodworks, please note that Sarah Mark is not a real client, and her review is malicious and false. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual clients who pay for my time." I walked toward the door. Mark grabbed my arm as I passed. "Ethan, please. Take this down. I'll pay you. I'll do anything. I looked him straight in the eye. Too late, Mark. You stood by and did nothing while your wife tried to destroy my business. You live in a house of cards. Maybe now you'll prioritize your finances over her ego. I left the house, the sound of Sarah's hysterical crying echoing behind me. I got into my truck and slowly drove away, watching in my rearview mirror as guests began hurrying out the front door, avoiding Mark, who was standing distraught on the porch. The aftermath was exactly what I'd predicted. Within a week, Sarah's reputation in that neighborhood was shredded. Aunt Carol, it turns out, was a major investor in Meridian Development and knew Mr. Henderson personally. She was so disgusted by Sarah's behavior, the lies, the entitlement, the exposed debt, that she not only personally apologized to Mr. Henderson on my behalf, but she convinced him to give me the contract back. The lost revenue was recovered, and then some. Mark eventually filed for divorce, citing the massive, reckless debt Sarah had accumulated, which, coupled with the humiliation, was the final straw. He sold the house, moving into a small apartment downtown. Sarah ended up having to move back in with our parents, who were now completely done with her entitlement, especially after seeing the hard evidence of her fraud and recklessness. Our mother, finally realizing the extent of Sarah's manipulation and greed, actually apologized to me for years of favoritism. I never expected that, but it was nice to hear. The gift, the mahogany display case, was left behind when Mark sold the house. The new owners, thinking it was a strange piece of art, hung it up in their garage for a few weeks before finally tossing it. I didn't care. Its purpose was served. I finally had peace, vindication, and the biggest contract of my career. And all it cost Sarah was everything. Wow. Just wow. Ethan absolutely delivered the definition of pro-revenge. He didn't just get even, he used his expertise to expose the truth in the most public and damaging way possible. It's hard to imagine a more perfect form of justice for a truly entitled person. What do you think about Ethan's revenge? Was it justified given the $500,000 contract he lost? Or did he go too far by exposing Sarah's massive financial debt to her entire social circle? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this truly wild story, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.